What is up, Not So Pro Football Talk? It's just me today on YouTube. If you want to catch AJ for our weekly Tuesday, I guess pick 'em up videos, waiver wire videos for fantasy, AJ is on TikTok at this point in time. I'm just going to change this. I always like having a little bit of border outside there. But K Dizzle's in the house. What's up, Dizzle? How's it going, man? How was your morning, I guess, this weekend? Or today. I don't know. For me, all the days are kind of meshing together since I'm still, considered like unemployed right now, even though I work at 6 in the morning to do Instacart. But yeah, so sometimes I just forget what day it is. But what's up, guys? We'll just go over some real quick stuff here until some more people get into the live here. But if it gets a little too slow here, I might hop on TikTok with AJ. So if you got any questions, shoot them out. I'm going to try to get to them as quickly as possible as they start flooding in. Last week was a good week here on YouTube as well as TikTok. I know AJ's mouth is moving on TikTok already, so pretty sure he's getting quite a bit of stuff. But Big Money says, "What's up, Vince? How's it going, man?" Just a heads up as well, since you might have come in a little later. AJ is on TikTok if you want to go see him on TikTok as well. We are still continuing to try both platforms as it's just a little bit easier to kind of get followers on both platforms, try to get our name as NSP Football Talk out there. So until some questions start coming in about fantasy or just football in general, I'm just going to go with some guys at the quarterback position that I think should be having a pretty good week this week. So, of course, my guy. AJ's been talking about him. I haven't said a word about Geno Smith, but Geno Smith, I think, should have a pretty good game this week. I'm not going to bash on the San Francisco's defense, but I think that they haven't been playing up to par as of recent years. And I think that he could really get something going, especially after having a bad game last week. He still had 22 fantasy points, but I feel like it was one of his worst games by far. And it pretty much wasn't his fault. But yeah, it was kind of his fault a little bit too. He needed out in 2.5 seconds or less the entire game almost. But he just got sacked like 6 or 7 times. So it wasn't the best thing. But yeah, last week he had 22 points. The week before had 22 points as well. I think going into this game, going against San Francisco, I think he will do pretty similarly. He's been doing pretty well, getting 17 to 20 plus points every single week. But yeah, that's going to be my first quarterback. We have our first question here. It's Liam. Jordan Love versus Arizona, chance of rain, or Baker versus the Saints. I think Baker versus the Saints might be a little bit tough. I still think I might go Jordan Love versus Arizona, even though there is a chance of rain. But every time I think of chance of rain, if it's not freaking like you can't see past 10 feet in front of your face, I think they're still going to throw the ball pretty crazily. I think the Packers just want to get that involved. And you got to remember that Josh Jacobs is also a catching back. So I think Jordan Love will get some points there. It just makes guys a lot more slippery off of tackles. So there is going to be a lot of yak yards after those completions. Yeah, he may not have the prettiest game too, but there's always a possibility that Jordan Love just goes off. We've already seen him get a 30-plus game. We've seen him get multiple 20-plus point games this season. I think it's very possible he gets another one. But Big Money Joey says, who would have thought Geno and Baker would be hidden gems in fantasy football for a quarterback? Well, I always thought so. Of course, he's my quarterback. I'm a little bit biased, but I know what Geno Smith can do on a week-to-week basis. It's just making sure that everybody's around him, and of course, that the offensive play calling is benefiting him. I think this week we will try to rush the ball a lot more, but that doesn't mean that Geno Smith is not going to be as accurate as he usually is. So he'll get his points. He's been throwing for crazy amounts of yards lately. I think he has 1,450 yards passing this season, or just shy of that. So he's the top passer in the league as of this year. The only thing that he needs to get up in his repertoire of stats is the touchdown passes. He has one touchdown every single game, all 4 and 5 starts here. But in 3 games, he has at least 1 interception. So just that touchdown interception ratio here for me is a little bit not to my liking. But Liam also says Houston defense versus New England or Philadelphia versus Cleveland, or the last one, Pittsburgh versus Las Vegas. I think this one's a pretty easy one for me. I'm going to go Pittsburgh versus Las Vegas. I don't think they're going to score a lot of points there. Philadelphia versus Cleveland, though, might be a close second for me. Their defense is just not all that, but Cleveland is just a dumpster fire. You'll see that in my next video, which is going to be my power rankings video that goes out Thursday at 12 p.m. So keep track of that too. That'll help you also make your picks as the week goes along. But right now, I think I'm going to go Pittsburgh versus Las Vegas as number one, just because of TJ Watt there and a couple other guys that get to the quarterback quite frequently. But after that, I'd go Philly. And then lastly, I'd go Houston, because I think there's a possibility that Drake May, in a world, as he is the starter for the New England Patriots this weekend, I think there's a world where he actually plays pretty well. It's going to be way out there because Patriots offense is nothing to be hopeful about. I think he actually most likely 90%. Actually, I'll change that to 95%. He's going to get killed. So it won't be a bad defense to play either. But I think the safer bets are going to be Pittsburgh and Philadelphia as my second pick. AJ might say something different though. So go ahead and check out his video as well. It should be posted already for the pickups. But Liam also says, is K9 going to be manageable against the Niners? I believe so. Last week was an outlier week. He only got the ball running 3 times. He still had some good points because of the 6 receptions that he got. But in my opinion, I think K9 going forward is going to be the guy that we use and abuse. I mean, he might hurt his ribs again. Hopefully not. But he's going to be getting the ball quite frequently, in my opinion. So I think he's a good start. I would say he's your running back 2, maybe even a little bit lower into the flex position, depending on who you have at the running back position on your team. But I think K9 is a guy to start every single week, except our bye week, of course. But I think he's going to be getting the ball quite frequently for the Seahawks after we had that horrendous game versus New York, where we only ran the ball, I think, 11 times with all of our running backs. So it's not what we want to see. Big E says, Vince the man, are we panicking on ETN? Yeah, I would say hit the panic button. I would say trade him for the smallest bag of chips you could get and try to pick up his counterpart, Tank Bixby. Tank Bixby is going to be getting a lot of carries from now on. I think it'll still be, that 60-40 split. It's just going to change every now and then. I feel like ETN is going to be the change of pace running back with his ball catching skills. But Tank Bixby is going to be the guy that they pound the rock with. And as we've seen, he's been getting at least 5 yards per carry, getting up there in his yards per carry. Some games even 10 yards per carry. So it's pretty insane to see that. But there are some good rookie running backs coming out here, including Tyrone Tracy against the Seahawks last week. He got the start as Singletary was out. So also look for him on the waiver wire if Singletary is not good to go this week. Liam, he says, pick wide receivers and a flex. CD, he's already in there for sure. McLaurin, for me, he's already in there for sure. They're going up against the Baltimore Ravens this week. It's going to be tough, but I think he's going to get his points. And then, of course, I think I'm going to go London. I think London is going to be a force this week again. They just have a favorable matchup, in my opinion. So I'm going to go those 3 guys right off the bat. Jaden Reed, I wouldn't mind you putting him in there. Maybe I would take out McLaurin. But I feel like London and CD are for sure getting the points, and McLaurin is probably the guy that I slide in the flex. So there you go. Oh, shoot. Yeah, I didn't even see yours, Jake. It says Michael Pittman or Devontae Smith. This one's going to be tough for me. It just depends on who's the quarterback there. So sorry again. I didn't know I was skipping you, but the last time I honestly did not see your comment at all anywhere. So maybe I was just blind to it, but we'll see. But I think I'm going to go Devontae Smith here no matter what. But Pittman, it just depends if Joe Flacco's playing. If Joe Flacco's playing, I might think differently. But Devontae Smith should be getting his. They said that he's for sure playing week 6, but so is A.J. Brown. But I think that benefits them going against the Cleveland Browns. they're just going to be running the score up, hopefully. Devontae Smith should get his. I think he should get a touchdown for sure this week, maybe. But I think he's going to get the yards. I think he's going to get the receptions. They miss these guys, and they want to get a win under their belt. So look for Devontae Smith. Look for A.J. Brown to have a big game. And I think Saquon Barkley will also benefit from that for not having all the attention on him. So should be good for the Eagles and all their players, in my opinion. But see, Big Money Joe said Tracy went under the radar and did his thing when given the starting opportunity. Yeah, for sure. I had Tracy on my Dynasty League, excuse me, in the beginning of the year. But I just didn't think he was going to get the time of day this year. I saw that Singletary was kind of being used and abused over there. And I thought, Tracy will probably still be there next year. I don't really think anybody's going to use him. A lot of people in our league are kind of impatient, so they don't like having guys on the bench for long periods of time. But I literally have 5 running backs on my bench in Dynasty League. I'll read them out to y'all. But my starters are going to be Bijan Robinson and Alvin Kamara. So those are my starters all year long, except for their bye weeks. Then I have Antonio Gibson that I picked up this past week just because, I needed a guy to put in the flex. A lot of bye weeks. Jalen Warren's out. I have Braylon Allen, Tank Bixby, Jalen Warren, Tyjae Spears, and of course, as I said, Gibson that I picked up. So I have a lot of running backs out there. They're all rookies. I think all those guys are going to end up getting at least 50% of the shares by next year. And Jalen Warren's my wild card. I don't know where he's going to go. I think his contract, as well as Najee Harris, is ending pretty soon. So we'll see what happens to him. But I'm still holding on to him. I think he's a good guy to have. And I think in that league as well, who do I have? No, yeah, that's about it. I thought I had somebody on my IR spot, but I don't. So, but yeah, those are the running backs that I like. These rookies are phenomenal. And then to top it off next year, we got Gianti. I forgot his first name. I think it's Ashton Gianti from Boise State's running back there. That looks like the next Barry Sanders. We'll see how that transfers because he hasn't really played too much competition besides Oregon. But they take him out by halftime. And this guy already is like encroaching on 300 yards rushing and like 6 touchdowns for the game. So it's pretty crazy. We'll see what happens in our next dynasty draft. And of course, in the standard leagues next year. I think he's going to be a hot commodity if he transfers into the NFL after one season or after his junior season because he's a junior. But after this extremely great season. But Dizzle says, what's up, Vince? How's it going, man? I always love to see you here. Of course, I always love to bash on you too, but it's all love, man. Dizzle says, I think Eagles roll this week. I agree. I was talking about it, I think, when you were coming in here, so I agree. I think the Eagles will roll. But let's see. Shake Zilla says, clanking the beer bottles, man. What's up, man? Again, always love having y'all here. So keep the comments going. Let me know what you think about fantasy. Let me know what you think about football. I just want to talk football all day, man. So I always love getting on this channel. I push a lot of things off to the side so I can do this channel. So some people get mad, but it's okay. This one says, were you actually shocked about Jets coach move? I was surprised, but not shocked. I wasn't shocked. I thought we've always been talking about it in the chat that after this year, he might get the boot because they're not doing so good. So his job was riding on the season. I was surprised, though, that they did it right now. They just lost to the best team in the NFL, in my opinion, or one of the best teams. So they weren't even at home. They were in London. I don't get it. I think they should have kept him. I think the GM and the owner there just had it out for him, in my opinion. I know there was a lot of like family moves. Somebody else was the owner before, and it transferred to his brother. So Woody, I think, is his first name. But I just think they had it out for him. I've been seeing a lot of stuff that they had it out for him. And I've been also seeing that Rodgers had a little tiny hand possibly in there. I talked to the owner and the GM about it before they fired him. So I don't know. As stuff keeps coming out, we'll find out exactly what happened. But in my opinion, I just don't like the way they're managing that organization. I think they're honestly making bad moves, to be honest. I think they should have kept Saley, even though he's not a good locker room coach manager. But I mean, when you have Rodgers there and you have, the owner, the GM also allowing Rodgers to do what he wants and have a say in what they're doing with the head coach, I think that's a little fishy, especially with Rodgers playing like total dog doo doo, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion. So we'll move on though. I could rant all day about the Jets, to be honest. But Shakesville also says Tracy used to be a wide receiver in college. He did 6 years in college, 3 years as a wide receiver, 3 years as a running back. Really versatile and talented. That's awesome, dude. I'm glad that you know that because I had no idea about that. I thought, most of these guys who come into the NFL, usually 99% of the time, have just been in their uh, respective positions. So that's awesome facts. But Big Money also says, thought it was going to be Warren's year to overtake Najee, but injuries have been crazy this year. Yeah, man, he's been out, I think, 4 games out of 5, if not like all 4 games, like 3.5 of the games. So it's just not awesome. But in a dynasty league, I'm more than happy to stash him because I think he is going to be a guy who at least gets 50% of the share wherever he goes. I think he's just a versatile running back that should be demanding carries and touches. So we'll see what happens with him. Dizzle says, I'm going to be in a tough spot in the coming weeks when Cup comes back. I think that's also a good tough spot to be in, to be honest. I think as soon as Cup comes back, he is going to demand targets. So just depending on your team, I think you put it down below, but I'll get your comments soon. Uh, I think that's a great problem to have, to be honest. Let's see. Tingly. Hello, Tingly. I'm not too sure if I recognize your name, but if this is your first time, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I mean, we answer every single question here. I do have another co-host. We have 2 other co-hosts. It's my best friend Reed and my best friend AJ. AJ right now is live on TikTok too. So if you want his advice as well, go ahead and hit us up on TikTok. We are at NSP Football Talk there as well. But let's see your question here. He says, "Who could I drop to pick up a running back to start this week?" Says, "I'd try to get Big Speed Tracy or Roshan. I could drop AR because you have Fields and Andrews because you have Likely. To be honest, I think it's okay depending on the size of your league. I don't think anybody would pick up Andrews if you dropped him. Maybe a guy who still believes in him, but I really don't. Even if he has some good weeks here and there, I think he's just going to be more of a problem for you. If anything, also Likely will probably be a problem for you too, but I think he's less of a problem. He'll be also on that roller coaster ride just to see how the Ravens actually distribute their touches. Most of them are going to go to Derrick Henry. But if, in my opinion, this is how I would rank your orders of drops. I would drop Andrews first, and then I would drop AR after that. If you want multiple of these guys, this is my order. I think I'm going to go Tank Bixby for sure because I think he's going to be the guy who's definitely going to usurp ETN sooner or later and demand more carries. So I'm going to go Tank Bixby number 1. I'm going to go Roshan second because he's only getting about 30 to 40% of snaps, but he's getting double-digit points in the past 2 to 3 weeks, I believe. So him and Swift are just doing phenomenal. Their schedule is all in the green, if not maybe 1 orange for like their strength of matchup in the next running defenses that they face all year. So those guys are going to be getting points, man. For those of you who dropped Swift, I told you not to. I told you to, try to keep him. He was going to be good, and he's showing it now. He's averaging 20 points in the past 2 games. And then lastly, it's going to be Tracy because I don't think that they're going to utilize him pretty often as much as they should. Even when Singletary's back, I think Singletary gets 80% of the snaps. So sad, but Tracy, if it's going to be in a dynasty league, you should keep him. I'm also trying to get him in the dynasty league because I just love stashing running backs. They're good trade bait, especially when people are needing running backs in that big league. We have 3 flex positions and 2 running back spots. So definitely some running back love should be thrown around. Dizzle also says, gonna have Terry, Wilson, Reed, and Cup. And only can start 3 in a full PPR. Should I try to package 2 for like a Chase, Jettas, even buy low on CD or AJ Brown? Yeah, dude, honestly, always try to get better. You could probably get like Terry and Reed when they have a good week and just try to get like CD or AJ Brown. I wouldn't mind that, especially if those teams are hurting at wide receiver and they only have guys like AJB and CD to hold it down. That's probably your best bet. If not, I think you could totally ride with these guys. I think it's not a bad team. I'm pretty sure you put up some great points with Terry Wilson and Reed this past week. Reed, not so much, but Terry and Wilson would have probably gotten you at least a combined possibly 50 points easy. So it's not a bad thing to have. He's like, I'm 5-0, so I got time. Yeah, there you go. Pretty sure. But yeah, I would try to get some of those big boys, as you said, like Chase Jettos or even CD or AJ Brown. I would try to do it, but wait until both of those guys have a tremendous game. If anything, when Cup comes back, he's going to be your number one guy out of all those people. And if you could get another secondary guy with maybe just like Wilson to be your flex guy, that's awesome. So that'll be a team that keeps winning. I'm also 5-0 in one league. Let me go ahead and kind of flex here too. But my guys right now for my wide receiver position in my 5-0 league are T. Higgins, DK Metcalf. I'll say Brock Bowers because Brock Bowers is kind of like a receiver to me. DJ Moore, Rashid Shaheed, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So those are my 5 guys that I've been rotating, but we have a 2 wide receiver spot and a double flex spot. So I have 4 guys that I got to play, and all of them are wide receivers there. So not a bad thing to be 5-0 after 5 weeks. But Big Money says, weren't the Jets arguing on the sideline this last loss? I would hope so. I think, for lack of better words, Aaron Rodgers is playing like crap. So I would definitely be arguing on the sidelines a whole bunch if I were Saleh. But yeah, I'm sad that he got fired, but it just happens that way. This is a business league and they're trying to make business moves. I think this was a bad business move doing it so early in the season and not waiting till the end. But they'll see what their interim head coach, their defensive coordinator, forgot his name off the top of my head. So some of y'all put it down in the comments. But yeah, we'll see how he does. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think Aaron Rodgers is just going to take over the team, and it's not going to be good. Dizzle says, the fact they didn't let Saleh address team and get escorted out by security is absolute comedy. Dude, it's horrendous. That's like the worst comedy in my opinion. I think they should always let the head coach address them. But I think that, of course, their owner was just like fed up with Saleh for some reason. I don't think he liked him ever since his brother was the owner and he hired him. He just always had a grudge against him. So I could understand it off of his standpoint, but I think it's kind of disrespectful. Not even giving him like 5 minutes to say, hey guys, let me dap y'all up. I'm not going to be your head coach going forward. Give it up for, the defensive coordinator's name because I can't remember what it is. But, at least let him address it, like saying that, hey, I'm not going to be here, but good luck to you guys. I'm pretty sure he'd say something inspirational like, I believe in y'all to get this turned around. He's like, sadly, I won't be here and stuff like that. But, it happens. He's getting paid $20,000 a day. So he said he's going on vacation with his family. Good. Get out of there, Saleh. I think you're dodging a huge bullet. This is one of those big bullets that comes out in Super Mario. He's dodging that. So I think he'll be just fine. Liam also says 5-0 in the NSP league. Should I make any roster changes? Well, I'll let you know, Liam. You're 5-0 because I'm not there. It'd be different if I was there and I faced you one of these weeks. But just saying that out there. Yeah. But QBs are Fields, Richardson. Not a bad duo there. I would probably drop Richardson, though. I don't think he's going to be doing great from week to week. So I think you're risking a spot there. I would probably get somebody else. Maybe like Geno Smith. He's a little bit more consistent, even though he's not as flashy. But running backs are Henry, Mason, Jacobs, Dobbins, and Chubb. Ooh, good job, my guy. Henry's going off. He's the steal of fantasy besides Kamara, in my opinion, at the running back position. So nobody really thought these guys were going to go off as they have been. And I'm pretty sure they're at least top 3 running backs in the league at their position. So I know Kamara is. Maybe not after this week, though. He hasn't been doing that well. But Mason is good. Jacobs is, good from week to week, depending on the play style. Dobbins, I'm not too sure. I dropped him a while back. I think I traded him, actually. So I haven't really been keeping up with him. But Chubb should be back soon. And I think He's going to make the Cleveland Browns a little bit better, but not all their problems are going to be solved. So hopefully he comes back healthy, but they are going to ease him in. So not a bad running back room. I would keep that the same, to be honest. All those guys are going to be the starters for a long time. Maybe not Mason if McCaffrey comes back, but I think McCaffrey will be that, week to week type of thing once week 9 and 10 come around. But wide receivers are Tyreek, Higgins, Pittman, and Tutu Atwell. Not bad. I feel like that's probably your weaker area right now, even though Higgins and Pittman had some good games this week. Higgins more than Pittman, but how did Tutu Atwell do? I think, let me check. I'm not too sure how he did. I did not watch that game, but let's see what he did this week. 12 points, 12.50. So it's not bad. He's getting the targets for sure. So that's pretty awesome. But yeah, if anything, I would upgrade your wide receiver room. Try to flip Pittman and Tutu for like a more consistent guy. Try to get, in my opinion, let's see. My mind is like freaking boggled. But try to get like a Darnell Mooney. Try to get somebody who's pretty accurate, but who you can get for those guys. That might be like buying way too low with Pittman. So maybe like a trade with Tutu and maybe like Dobbins, something like that. But your tight ends with Kraft and McBride are also bumping you up. Hopefully in your flex, you can play a tight end there. So that'd be pretty good. But yeah, right now, I mean, shoot. Let's see. With those guys, with Pittman and Tutu, I think I would probably try to trade for guys like maybe Ayuk, Wicks. Shoot, let's see. Brian Thomas. See if you can get Brian Thomas Jr. from the Jaguars. He's been doing amazing things over there, even though he's on like a limited like share of targets. He's been going up though. So five receptions in the last 3 games at least is pretty good. He's a good guy to buy low on for sure. I think you could trade Pittman and Tutu, and I think you'd be happy with it. So try to do that. Other guys that I think you could possibly get there, try to get. Nah, I wouldn't double dip with Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, but yeah, some guys around that range, who are not like super studs, but are also not guys to sleep on. So that's something you probably could do to keep up with everybody and keep your undefeated record going. But Tyrone Tracy, Purdue legend. Yeah, man, for sure. I wish I watched a little bit more college ball so I could know these guys for sure. But Tingley says, been sub since last year. Thank you, man. Like I said, I have to put like the name to face in order to remember you. It's hard for me. Like that's just something I struggle with for some reason. But if you're here consistently, the name gets seared into my head. So if you haven't been here in a while, I'm sorry for that. But thank you for being subbed. Thank you for coming back. We always love when we have repeat, subs coming back every single week. So look forward to seeing you more often. But this says smash the like button. Yes, Dizzle. Perfect timing. He says, Liam, and for the team I sent, would you trade Tyreek and Jacobs to get CD? No, I think that's too much. Tyreek's going to come back as soon as what's his name? Their quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. I think Tyreek's going to come back to form as soon as he's back. Hopefully Tua can stay healthy long enough. But as we saw this game, they're getting Tyreek more involved. So I think that's going to benefit him. They're going to get him the ball any way that they possibly can. Let me see if I can find him here to see how he's been doing. But let's see. Hill, again, yeah, I just think that's way too much. He got 12.9 this week, 6 receptions on 9 targets. Like I said, they're going to try to give him the ball as much as possible. But without Tua, he's not going to be that 20-plus point guy every single week. So hold on to him. I know the buy is here, so you're kind of hurting there. But nah, I wouldn't trade him for CD. I don't think CD is going to be getting that many points. The Cowboys are still trying to find themselves on offense, and it's not looking pretty every game. So we'll see. But I think you should stick with them. I think that's fine. Don't ruin your team to get CD and not get as much points as you could with Jacobs and Tyreek week to week. Rafe says, drop Leggett for Juju. I mean, Leggett just also had a good game. I know that for a fact. Oh no, he actually had a bad game. Last week was his good game. Yeah, I guess he's kind of inconsistent. I think this Panthers offense is going to be inconsistent because they're the Panthers. They just don't have the best guys. So Xavier Leggett might be wishy-washy. I wouldn't mind you getting Juju because, I mean, I think he's going to be getting quite the receptions again. We saw it when they went to the Super Bowl the first time. Juju was the prime guy before Rasheed Rice, but now Rasheed Rice is gone. So it's back to Juju and Kelsey. So in my opinion, I think it's not a bad drop for Juju. So I would also say do it. Dizzle says, I have Hurts, so AJ Brown's stack would be nice. Yeah, I also have Hurts with my AJ Brown stack in one league. So looking forward to that coming back. Dizzle says, Dizzle, I would trade you for AJ Brown. Send him over. So Big Money Joe is already working his magic here. Dizzle, just don't stare into his eyes, man. He'll seduce you into doing whatever he wants. But Dizzle also says, I want all the AJ Brown shares for sure. Yeah, I think he's going to be a good guy going forward. Vince, you loved those Raj memes this week. Glad I was down bad on the course and not watching the game. Too busy with the scaries, hooking up with coworkers' daughters. Big date next Friday. Ooh, big date Friday. Good job. Wine and diner, Dizzle. Don't just go and take her to your bedroom so you could stroke her hair. Yeah. But good job, man. But yeah, I love the Roger memes. They're hilarious. I think that's the epitome of what the Jets are. They're just a guy crawling to try to get saved in Fortnite. So super funny. Dizzle can't dodge the blue shell, Vince. Yeah, man, for sure. Especially in like Mario Kart, that blue shell is pesky, bro. But yeah, funny. Rafe says, Vince, what lobe of the brain right above the ears is your processing language lobe? I believe you're talking about the temporal lobe. Let me know if I'm correct. But yeah, I think that's what it is. If not, the frontal lobe deals more with emotions and, of course, like those cognitive, like thinking skills, that upper cognitive skill area to try to make some choices. So I know that's the frontal lobe. So I think you're talking about the temporal lobe, or it could be the parietal, but I'm leaning more temporal. So let me know if I'm correct. Rave says, rank my running back room. Saquon, B-Rob, Swift, Brooks, and Hunt. Jeez, bro. 10-man PPR. Saquon and B-Rob are doing amazing. Swift has come back. Like I said, he's going to be good the rest of the season. He has green all in front of him for all his matchups. We might have one orange matchup, but I think he'll be just fine against that. So that is a great running back room. I think I would rate it a 9 out of 10. I think the thing that would be like a home run hit is if you had possibly, let's see, Saquon, B-Rob. If you had Derrick Henry in there, that would be like my 10 out of 10 in this position. But yeah, what a great running back room. You should use some of those guys, especially like Hunt right now, for some people that are just down bad in the running back room. I think Brooks is going to come to form, so I think you having 4 guys that are quality, I think you could get something in return for Hunt as a wide receiver or tight end. Let's see. Dizzle says, thoughts on Reed and Terry for AJ Brown and Pacheco, 5-0. So if you're trading away Reed and Terry for AJ Brown and Pacheco, I don't think that's bad, especially with your 5-0 team. I'm going to go up and scroll just to see and pull up your roster. I think you did put it. I'm not too sure. But if you didn't, and I can't find it. But yeah, I don't mind that at all. Especially if you are okay with, having Pacheco sit on the IR basically. So that's not a bad idea. And AJ Brown, I mean, chef's kiss. I think he's one of the best wide receivers in the league at this point in time as of fantasy purposes. So yeah, I don't mind that at all. As soon as he's back healthy, hopefully he can stay healthy because we know how those hamstrings are so pesky. So I think you still win this trade though. And especially with those guys who are just hungry to have someone more than AJ Brown to share those points, Terry and Reed. I think this is a great trade. I would do it, especially when you're 5-0. Liam, pick 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex. Running back and wide receiver rooms are Henry, Mason, Jacobs, and Dobbins. Higgins, Pittman, Tutu, and Tyreek. Let's see. So for sure, I'm going to go with Derrick Henry here. Washington Commanders don't have the best run defense right now, so Derrick Henry's going to feast. I think that's how they're going to win this game. They're going to keep the ball out of Jaden Daniels' hands with Henry running the rock. So for sure, Henry. And then I think I'm going to go with Jacobs there. I don't think that the Cardinals have the best run defense as well. But after that, I would probably follow with Mason, possibly in the flex there. I'm going to go with Higgins as your wide receiver 1 there. And I think this might be crazy. I just think it might. But let me check really fast. Let's see who they play. They have a bye week, so that's why I'm not going to say Tyreek Hill, right? But I guess you should go Pittman, but this is my only, drawback here. If it's not Joe Flacco throwing him the ball, you have to put Tutu Atwell in. If not, if Joe Flacco is playing, Pittman in over Tutu. So Higgins for sure, Pittman if Joe Flacco's playing, Tutu if Joe Flacco is not playing. But PPR, yeah. Big Money says, tell her to subscribe as well. Yeah, man, bring her in here. We can talk to her. We can grease her up for you, We'll tell her how great of a guy you are and how thoughtful you are. Ray says, you're right, Vince. Oh, awesome, dude. Yeah. And I've been studying pretty much. Like I said, I took my test last week, so I had to study all that stuff. So good thing that I had it correct. But yeah, my thought process is always kind of going, especially when you ask this stuff. But he says, AP Psych got me effed up right now. So much material in each unit. Yeah, man. I mean, anything psych or cognitive functioning with the brain is just literally a brain full of information coming at you at one time. Wait till you get to the nerves, man. If you haven't gotten to the nerves and what they innervate and how in the spinal cord they differentiate from anterior and posterior, connections. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, bro. So I could go into detail with it, but I would need my notes because my mind just gets jumbled thinking about it. It's so crazy. But yeah, upper motor and lower motor neurons, don't even get me started, bro. I hated that class in anatomy. Everybody did in our course. But Dizzle says full roster is Hurts, Gibbs, Mason, Reed and Wilson at the wide receiver positions, Laporta, Terry, San Francisco defense, Aubrey. Good job, Aubrey. There is good. Benches Brooks, Cup, Najee, Kraft, and Bucky Irving. Awesome. I do like that team. Gibbs and Mason is a great duo to have. Mason, some weeks he's kind of but I'd rather have him in over Najee. And of course, if Brooks starts going off, hopefully, because Chuba Hubbard is, maybe Brooks will get some of that carry share there. Maybe he could, start in the flex. But yeah, I would try to upgrade that wide receiver room, especially since you're waiting on Cup. Try to get AJ Brown as quickly as possible. I would love that for you. Dizzle says, as long as we don't tell her about season-long bet, however, was placed before we started talking. No problem, bro. Yeah, I'll keep it out of my mouth. I'll just say that you've been rooting for the Jets recently, and that's your only drawback. So, yeah, because I do have to tell her, I can't lie, that you have been greasing up the Jets and Rodgers every week. So I got to tell her at least that. One guy always has one flaw, and that's your flaw. But awesome, guys. We finally caught up. Let me pull up Sleeper again so I can tell you guys who my waiver wire pickups are. I only got to Geno Smith before all these comments flooded in. So let's get to some before I read the next comment from Rave. But Geno Smith, of course. And if you possibly have Kirk Cousins out there, you need to pick him up. He's only rostered in 41% of leagues. In Dynasty or in Sleeper, I think that is way too low, especially after the game he just had. I know he's up and down, but him and this offense have finally started clicking, and I think that this is going to be the norm going on. Of course, let me check his matchup here. Of course, he's going up against Carolina, so I think he's going to feast this week. maybe next week against Seattle, he could possibly do the same. Just depends on our guys that we have back on the D line. I know we just put Uchenna Nwosu on IR. Byron Thomas is still not, or Byron Murphy, my bad. Thinking of freaking Brian Thomas from Jacksonville. But Byron Murphy is still not playing. He's not going to be good to go against the 49ers this week. So it's tough out there. Like, we have a lot of guys on the D line that are out who can't get pressure on Kirk Cousins in week 7. And then, of course, to top it off, we also have my boy at cornerback. He's not going to play this week. So Witherspoon will be in. But what's his name? Again, I'm totally blanking here. But yeah, we have a lot of guys out, and it's very unfortunate. So I hate it. Let me see if my mind can get him back in. Tariq Woolen. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Tariq Woolen, he might not play this week. So that's a big knockback for our defense. So could benefit these quarterbacks. But lastly, I think the only guy that I honestly talk about is, of course, Joe Flacco. If he is starting, I think he is worthy of a start. They're going to get against Tennessee. Sorry, Rave. But I think Joe Flacco is, pretty good. We're so spoiled that I remember seeing a video this past week that says back in 2008 or 2012 or something. I forgot the year. But it's like, oh, man, Peyton Manning's on a bye week and someone else is on a bye week. I guess I got to pick up Joe Flacco. And then now we get to 2024 and guys are like, oh, Joe Flacco on the waiver wire. I'm going to pick him up so fast. And it's funny. We were so spoiled back then with all these great quarterbacks that were passing the ball like crazy. So now Joe Flacco is just a stud. So I love it. But yeah, those are my quarterbacks. Let me get to some of these comments before they start stacking up on me again. Rave, he says, would you trade Hunt for Cooper? I would. I think Cooper could find a new home soon. So I think that could benefit him. But he still is the best wide receiver, in my opinion, for the Browns. He hasn't been doing so well, but I mean, the last 2 games, 7.50. This past game, 10 points. It's still serviceable, but I think they definitely could get something going with Amari Cooper, especially if they trade him. I think maybe waiting off one more week, keep Kareem Hunt one more week and see if Cooper has a good game against Philly. If he doesn't, I think then you have your answer to not trade for him. But Amari Cooper, he's just waiting to have a breakout like he did against New York in week 3. And I think another breakout is coming soon. So hopefully he can keep it going after that breakout. Let's see. Raver says, my wide receivers right now are Ayuk, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith, and Wandale. Rip, Rashid Rice. Yeah, man, I think your wide receiver room is great right now. So you don't really need it. So that's why I'm saying, like, wait another week or 2 for Amari Cooper to see if he gets back to form. But right now, the freaking Browns, the offense is just so dysfunctional. They're like worse than the Jets. So that's saying a lot. Big Money says, did you bet on the Seahawks game yet, Vince? Heck yeah, I did. I think I posted it already in. Yeah, I did. I posted it in the Bet with NSP section of the Discord. That also reminds me, those of you who are new watching right now, go down in the link below and get on the Discord. We talk football there all the time, betting, football, fantasy, whatever you want. We even talk just about life whenever you want to. So we're there for you. We want to just interact. We love making friends, and we love talking about football in the process of it. But yeah, I did bet there. So you can go check it out. If you want me to put it up on here, I can. I'll just put it up on the screen or something. But for now, let me get to these comments for sure. Dizzle says, haha, I'm the number 1 fan of the Jets. I bleed green Jets and Celtics green. Yeah, for sure. You're a weirdo. Dizzle says, Vince, when you guys leaving for Seattle? We are leaving on Thursday at 7 in the morning here from San Antonio. And since there's a time change from our area to Seattle, we're arriving at 9:30 a.m. So we have the entire day to go get our stuff and our bags to the hotel and get an early check-in, hopefully. And then we're just going to go eat some sushi, prepare for the game. If we need to, we'll come back to the hotel since it's only like 12 minutes away from, Lumen Field, which is amazing. We'll come back, freshen up, and then head to the game at 3:30 because that's when the doors open. They open 2 hours before the game starts. Starts at 5:30, I believe, or 5:15 over there on that time. For you, of course, it's a totally different time. I think it's 8:15, but yeah, should be fun. So we have all day, and then afterwards, after the game, we're looking to go to like a rooftop sky bar. So we'll see how that is. Hopefully, it's not like rainy or anything like that, but the weather looks like it's going to be phenomenal. So we're going to have a lot of fun. But Rafe says Laporte is my tight end. Jeez, bro. Laporte is finally getting back into his own. I know they had the bye week, so I know that that offense is kicking off the kinks and the rust from not getting him the ball basically the first 2 weeks. So week 4 was just a relief for the Laporta fans and owners. So it's good to have him. Big Money Joe says Brown should have kept Flacco. I totally agree, man. I honestly, they messed up for sure because I think Joe Flacco would have come in this week, to be honest. But Dizzle says Big Ben and AB was my fave stack. Bro, I remember when AB was just having a year. I think it was like in 2020 or 2019. I cannot remember. It might have been 1 year earlier than that, but yeah, he went off that year. Like I was like, and I didn't have him on any of my teams, so I was just like watching him from that side view of like a fan. So it's pretty crazy. He said, Big Money says, I see your bet on Discord. Yeah, tell me what you think about it. I think it's a pretty decent bet. I do have the interception there for Brock Purdy just because he's had one pretty much almost every game, if not every game. So I think that's the best bet there. But it's kind of a little biased, but I also think they could all happen, to be honest. But Dizzle says, leaving Friday or making a weekend of it? We're making a weekend of it. We leave Saturday morning from Seattle, and then we have like a layover in Atlanta. So we'll be back over here, I believe, at 4:30 in San Antonio, just because of the time difference. But yeah, it should be fun. Friday, we're just going to explore all day. Dizzle says, that's so weird hearing a football game is 5:30 East Coast life. Yeah, man. We totally forgot that the time change was so different. So we were like, oh, yeah, we'll get to the game at 7:30. We have so much time. And then we're like, oh, wait, game starts at 5:30. We're like, oh, shoot. Man, we're going to be out so early. Like the game should be ending before 9 o'clock. Unless there's overtime, then possibly like latest 9:30. So it's going to be crazy. We're going to have so much stuff to do. It's barely going to be getting dark over there. So we're so excited, as you can tell from my voice and my reactions. But Jville Griffix, or GRFX, what's up, man? He says, got second priority for waivers. Puka somehow, oh my gosh. Puka is somehow on the waiver wires there, but Darnell Mooney is there too. What do you think? Definitely pick up Puka. When he comes back, he's gonna be nuclear. Darnell Mooney is very enticing, so I think some other people might go after him first and see if they can get Puka as well. But since you have the second priority, I would get Puka, but also put in the waiver right under it for Darnell Mooney in case the first guy gets Puka. So you kind of like trade off. I think both are great, but I think Puka long term is the better guy to have. Darnell Mooney will also be pretty damn good, but in my opinion, I have Puka over Darnell Mooney if I could get them. Dizzle says you will have a blast. Heck yeah, I am. I don't care. Like even if we lose, it's just awesome to go to my favorite team's stadium. I've heard so many great things about it from all these Seahawks pages and all these fans. So I'm just excited to go enjoy the city and just have a great time with my best friends. So win or lose, it's going to be a great time. Hopefully we win though, because I'll have a better time. But Dizzle says, I think Reed is going to find his wife in Seattle. Just got that Reader feeling. Dude, you got to tell him. You got to tell him. You got to tell him to watch out and make sure that he keeps his eyes and options open because I would love that. My best friend finding love in my favorite city that I haven't been to yet, of course, but, my favorite city because of my team. That would be awesome. And it would be a cherry on top if she's a Seahawks fan. That would just give me like so much like firepower to go after Reed with. But that'd be hilarious. Oh, sorry. Accidentally skipped this because it got moved up instantly as I clicked. But NBC Suites right next to the stadium. I stayed there last time in Seattle and not bad. Restaurant and bar and lobby not bad. Food and drinks were pretty good. Yeah, since Reed works at a hotel chain that I cannot reveal on here, we are staying at one of those hotels. It's just right outside the city, kind of like across that little like body of water that's there. So we got to go over the bridge, stuff like that. Hopefully, it's not too packed. But yeah, I mean, literally with no traffic, we are like 12 to 15 minutes away. But with traffic, it could be like 25, 30 minutes. So we're kind of already making an itinerary to make sure we get to each spot with time. But Matthew, what's up, man? He says, should I trade Gibbs for Mixon and Addison? Oof. Full PPR 10-man. That is a big trade, to be honest. I don't think it's bad because, Gibbs has been averaging, about like 16 points on the high end. He'll get 20 points randomly. But if you look at Mixon's production, I'm just going to pull it up so I don't like butcher this with his production. But when he is in, of course, that first week he got 26.8 points. And then the second game when he got injured, he had 8 points against Chicago. He hasn't played since, but I think he's the bell cow, as we saw in week 1 against Indy, who did have everybody healthy on their defensive line. And they are considered a, mid-tier defense against the run. So in my opinion, I would not mind this at all. As long as Mix can stay healthy, I think he produces just as much as Gibbs and sometimes maybe even more, just because there is that 50-50 share with Montgomery and Gibbs. So not every week will Gibbs get all the carries like you want him to and all the touchdowns like you want him to. So with getting Addison on top of that, I think this is a great thing to do. I'm just pulling up his stats too. He is like a kind of up and down guy, but if you need somebody from week to week to get that boom or bust type points for you in the flex, I think this is awesome. I think you win this trade by trading Gibbs away for Mixon and Addison. But again, it's totally up to you and your team. So go ahead and put your team down there, and I'll give you some extra context if you need it. But I think this is a good trade. Dizzle says, I love the whole experience of going to a football game. Tailgate itself is just so fun. Yeah, we really haven't been to a game where we could like experience tailgating. So hopefully we can see some there in the yard right outside the stadium. I would love that because we are going to try to get there as early as possible. Reed made it a directive that we have to enjoy the entire offerings of Seattle because we may never be back there again altogether. So we got to experience everything. But yeah, we'll see what we do. We'll put most of it in the vlog. We're going to try our best to be, enjoying, but also vlogging so y'all can come along with us. Benino Pena says, giving up too much value would be trading away B-Rob, Debo, Worthy for Jamar and Spears. Ooh, I think that is trading away a lot. But Jamar is, in my opinion, a top 3 wide receiver right now in fantasy. This is great. This is a crazy trade. And Spears is doing well. I mean, he's averaging like 10 points a game, if I'm not correct, or if I'm not wrong. But yeah, there you go. The past 2 weeks, he's averaged 10 and 11.9. So again, I think he's a guy you could possibly have in the flex there since you're losing Debo and Worthy. But I think I'm going to keep B-Rob, Debo, and Worthy. I know Debo just had a really, really bad week, but I think you should keep him because you know what he can do. First 2 weeks, he had 18 points each. And I know it's kind of been low there, but San Francisco 49ers are still finding themselves. Try not to trade away B-Rob and see if you could do Debo and Worthy for Jamar, or see if you could do B-Rob and yeah, I don't know, man. That's hard because I don't want you to give up too much just to get basically Jamar Chase. Spears is like a 10-point guy sometimes, but still, I think it's just giving up too much because Tebow could be great, and I know Worthy could also be great too. So let me search up his exact points. But yeah, last 2 games, 16 and 11. I think you're just giving up too much. That's too many points there, even though Jamar Chase is going nuclear at this point in time. But there are going to be weeks where he's not going to be able to do that. So, in my opinion, Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think that's too much. Because I know Robinson is doing pretty dang good. Oops, wrong Robinson there. But yeah, in my opinion, I would not do it at this point in time. I think I'm going to keep the points that I have there with those guys that I know for sure are going to be doing good. Unless you have a lot of guys on the waiver wire that you know could help you produce at the running back position and the wide receiver position, I would not do this. He says, want to get a three-headed monster at wide receiver in this 10-man jet. Oh, dude, okay, never mind. After I read that, do it. Just do it. If he is willing to do that, you just do it, bro. This could win you your league. Yeah, Matthew right here agrees with me. Sorry, I only read one comment at a time because it's only me right now and Age's on TikTok. But Nino, get my own three-headed dragon, but running backs Gibbs, Kamara, and Cook. Heck yeah, like that's also crazy trio to have. But yeah, Nino, this would be insane. This would be probably one of the best wide receiver rooms right now because that's literally, I'm pretty sure, 3 out of the top 5 wide receivers in fantasy at this point in time. Do it. If you could get that, do it. And then send it in the Discord so that everybody can freaking praise you because that is crazy. Crazy. But Matthew says, but I might trade Gibbs for Mixon and Addison. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that is a good move there because, again, you could have the trio of Mixon, Kamara, and Cook. Also great. Either way, I think you're sitting pretty. It's just who do you believe in more? I think Kamara and Cook long term are going to be great. Gibbs as well, I think he'll be great too. But I think Mixon just might elevate you just a little bit more to get you to that championship, especially since he's not splitting carries. But Dizzle says, celebrate with fans around you. It's so fun. Nothing matched Patriots Dynasty games. I bet, bro. Yeah, it's going to be first for me. The only other Seahawks game I've been to is the Texans. So there's a bunch of Texans fans. I do like the Texans, though, so I wasn't opposed to being around that good atmosphere. I was very invited in that stadium. So I'm hoping that the Seattle Stadium is just the same. Hopefully, AJ can have a good time, too, because, I mean, we know what the rivalry is for the 49ers and Seahawks. So it's going to be pretty crazy, in my opinion. But he says, is Seattle known for any food-wise, like culture-wise? Yeah, dude, seafood. Seafood is our biggest like thing in Seattle over there. They export like fish everywhere. I don't know if you've seen like pregame type stuff with Fox and CBS when football used to be mostly aired on those things. Every game when there's a home game and it's a big game like on Thursday Night Football or Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football, whichever one they highlight the Seahawks on, they're always throwing a big fish across like a little fish market. So that is like what Seattle's well known for. So that's what we're going to go try to get on Friday. We're going to try to at least go to like 2 different spots for seafood so we can just try whatever we want, So I'm going to get crazy there. I got a little bit of spending money, so I'm ready to eat some good grub. Try things that I've never tried before, especially in Seattle. But Matthew says, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm leaning towards doing it. If David Montgomery wasn't a thing, I wouldn't do it. Yeah, for sure. I think David Montgomery is just taking too much away from Gibbs. I think David Montgomery is actually outpacing Gibbs in fantasy points. So that's just a turnoff for me. That's why I didn't draft Gibbs. I actually got DeMont in 2 other leagues, so I'm loving his production. Dizzle says, honestly, just join a tailgate, dude. People are so welcoming, at least in New England. Oh, I bet they're so welcoming in Seattle too. I'm not much of a moocher, but I'd just go in there just like, if they offer me a beer or something cool, like if they have like tailgate games, even better. Like just to talk football, get our podcast out there. I'm going to try to find my business cards for NSP and just pass them out to any of the Seahawks fans there because I want more of a Seahawks presence in this channel, our football channel here. So would be fun. Abdino says, gotta come see a home Lions game, man. Dude, we were there for the draft. It was awesome. We were like right outside Ford Stadium. We walked past it. It's huge. But again, I don't know where the heck people park at. It's so crazy. Like there was not very much parking in downtown Detroit. But yeah, we were there for the draft. It was crazy, especially when you guys drafted your first overall pick. What was his name? He was a cornerback. I can't remember his name right now because mind boggled. Brains going everywhere answering these comments and stuff. But yeah, it was crazy in Detroit. So I would definitely think that the games are crazy too, especially the way y'all's team is going right now. But Matthew says my team is loaded because we drafted midsummer. Oh, dude, midsummer, that's crazy. That's something I kind of want to do too. I want to kind of get all the guys together, especially if we could do it on NSP. I know Big Money's been offering or like putting it out there, like, hey, let's go to Las Vegas and draft and have a draft party over there or something. That would be freaking cool, in my opinion, to do it live. We've never really done it like that. I know AJ has with his the league that he has, his dad and a couple of his dad's friends in there, but that's pretty cool. But he says quarterback is Jaden Daniels. Perfect, bro. Me too. I have him in Dynasty. I snagged him in the second round, I believe, the beginning of the second round, and I'm not mad at it. Kamara, I also have Kamara in my Dynasty. Cook, that's a good guy to have in Dynasty right now too. Chase, Flowers, and the flex is Gibbs or Mixon now, hopefully. He says, I had Rashee Rice too, but RIP. Yeah, man, that's crazy. That's a great lineup there. I'm 100% sure you did your research before that, so congrats. He says, but Mixon will replace Gibbs on the flex, and Addison gives me more wide receiver depth with Rice out now. Yeah. And then Addison also gives you that boomer bust type play. So for some of those weeks when you feel like you're not, very, confident in your team, you'd be like, I'll just throw Addison in the flex there maybe, or in the wide receiver 2 spot if Mixon is in the flex. And you could be sitting pretty. He could get you 25 points, and you'll be like this in what me and AJ call lime time. So that's when you win your fantasy league before Monday Night Football. So you're just there sitting with a lime and a beer, basically. But Dizzle says AJ Def getting hackled, no avoiding that. Oh, I know, bro. Yeah, but I just don't want anybody to be like, lack of a better term, a dick. I don't want anybody to be a dick who we're around, because I'll end up telling them something too, because I hate when people are dogging on my friends, stuff like that. I'm not a very big guy, but AJ is a big guy, so I know that if I get into a fight with a Seahawks fan, AJ will be there to back me up, and Reed will for sure back me up. The cool thing is also my brother's going. My brother's bigger than I am. We're the same height, but he's bulkier because he has more time at 19 years old. He lives at home to work out, and he works and stuff. So he's physically more fit than I am. So I have backup. But yeah, Terrion Arnold, Bama legend. Yeah, Terrion Arnold, when they drafted him, it went nuclear, dude. It was so loud, and we were outside. So it was pretty crazy. But yeah, so I'm not mad, but I'm not mad at going with the guys I'm going with to Seattle, but I just want everybody to have a good time. I would hate for somebody, especially AJ, to have a bad time there. But Big Money says seafood in Seattle. I'll post a picture on the Discord. Yeah, dude, I'll check it out right after this. We're also taking any recommendations, since I know that you've been there a few times. Taking any recommendations on any restaurants that you think. We've already found an all-you-can-eat sushi place right across where Lumen Field is. So we're going to go there before the game, and we're going to be stuffed. But we're still going to try to leave some room to get some of the food there in Seattle Stadium, as well as some brewskis. And Reed's probably going to drink some bourbon. But Matthew says, only team undefeated in my league. Nice. Me too, man. I'm in a league where I'm 5-0. Sitting pretty on all of it. But this says, have a nice night, Vince. 9 on the East Coast. Big barbecue food truck at work tomorrow. So excited. Yeah, dude, go get a bunch of barbecue like you did when you freaking ate 9 pizza slices. Oh, man, that was funny. But yeah, good night to you, man. Always enjoy you here in the presence on all of our lives. Keeps it exciting. But he says, to you and the rest of the NSP gang, have a blast at Seattle. We will, man. Thank you. We appreciate it. And of course, we'll be active in the Discord. I personally can't be on my phone, but AJ and Reed will. So if I need them to comment anything to you guys, I'll let them know. But Dizzle says 5 slices at the house party too. Jeez, dude. You basically took down almost 2 full pizzas by yourself. That's insane. But Matthew says, just subscribed. Thanks for the help. Just accepted the trade. Dude, awesome. I think you're going to be doing good. Thank you, Matthew, again for subscribing. Hit the like button. And of course, go down there in the description below. We have a Discord. So if you are somebody who uses Discord, or somebody like me who never used Discord before until we made this channel, and I started playing games with the guys. Get on our Discord. We're there all the time. There's messages every single day, so you could send your trade offers or something that you're offering someone else. In there, you could ask us about waiver wire pickups throughout the week. You can ask us about betting in there, or just talk with us. We're always there. So we appreciate you, and we would love to have you in there. Dizzle says, took down the Zaw and the tire. Jesus. Yeah, I bet you did, Dizzle. I bet you did. Good job, man. But yeah, have a good night, bro. We'll be probably on a little bit longer. I'm just going to get through some more running backs and wide receivers off the waiver wires as of mine. I know AJ also released his video today at 12. So go ahead and see that for his waiver wire targets of the week. He's not too high on a lot of them because, again, there was a lot of bye weeks this week. So it's kind of hard to see like where these guys are coming from, where they're going to go these next few weeks because of buys and all that. So just keep your eyes peeled. Our video is in the channel here on YouTube, and it is posted in the Discord if you want to watch it as well. But yeah, so I'm going to go into running backs now. But yeah, awesome. Cheers, man. Awesome. Yeah. Stay if you need to. If not, have a great night. And of course, we'll be live again on Monday. Monday for Monday Night Football. That's the next time we'll be live. But let's see. For running backs, of course, I talked about it a little bit before. I have Tyrone Tracy. I think this is a guy who could be a good stash, especially if Singletary is not 100% healthy this week against Cincinnati. He did well against the Seahawks, and I don't usually give praise to a lot of running backs that go against us because our defense is kind of crappy against the run. But this guy was doing phenomenal. I mean, 7 yards per carry. He had 18 rushes for 129 yards. I feel like every time he got the ball, I was just saying an explicit word every time he got the ball. But I was happy for him at the same time, but I was also pissed because we were behind, and I hated that he was pretty much getting them a first down every time he touched the ball. But yeah, he also got a little bit in the pass game there, but he got 14 points without any touchdowns. Imagine if he had a touchdown, that's already instantly 20 points at what he got already. So if Singletary's out, I think Tyrone Tracy is a good guy to have. Other than that, I'm going to go with Rico Dowdle. He's been doing pretty good these past few games, and he has a pretty decent matchup in Detroit. Now, I don't think that they're going to be utilizing him a lot in the run against Detroit like they were against Pittsburgh because it was, a closer game. I think Detroit is going to be a team that is going to be putting down the hurt. I mean, they're going to be putting points up quickly. So I think that Dowdle is going to be a guy that they use in the pass game. I think he's the best running back that they offer for like those dunk down passes, those screens. So Dowdle could be getting around like 5 targets, maybe 3 to 4 receptions. And I think that's going to benefit him the most. So Rico Dowdle is my sneaky pick to if you need somebody in the flex because of bye weeks. So Dowdle is there. And of course, as a couple of y'all have already picked up, I'm going to go with Bucky Irving as well. They're going against New Orleans, and New Orleans has a tough run defense. So I think that they'll use Bucky Irving more, especially because he is a heavier and harder runner. So as we've seen when they played against Denver, and then as well as Philadelphia, since they do have a decent run blocking or run defense, I think that he could go off for another double-digit point game this weekend, especially since it is a rivalry between a divisional rival, basically, in the New Orleans Saints. I think that Bucky Irving will get the usage, especially if they are up early. You know that Bucky Irving's going to be in there running the rock, so to speed the process of the game. Yeah, so Bucky Irving as well. Other than that, I really don't like anybody else. I don't think anybody else is going to be getting you too much besides maybe Tank Bigsby. But again, going against Chicago, they could be putting up some big numbers there. So I don't know how much Tank is going to be involved. That's my only worry there. If Chicago can put up numbers quickly, I think the Jaguars abandon the run, and Tank Bigsby is not a guy that they use in getting receptions. So I think Etienne's the guy to have there. But I'll give you one last one. Roshan Johnson, we talked about him earlier as well in this live. So if you want to watch it over, you can always watch this whole video over as I answered questions pretty much majority of the time. You might be in the same situation as a lot of people. So go ahead and pick up these guys that I just talked about. And other than that, I'll get to a few more comments, and then I'm going to get to my wide receivers that I like, that it should be on the waiver wire in those 10-man leagues and possibly in the 12-man. But let's see. Big Money says, my go-to restaurant when in Seattle. I think you might have sent it in the Discord, so I'll check it out right after this. But if not, go ahead and let me know again, because I don't see any other comment. Maybe your comment hadn't come up. But yeah, I think you sent it in the Discord, so I'll check it out for sure. But if Darnell Mooney is not picked up in your league, you need to have him at least on the bench. I mean, this guy is going crazy. The past 4 weeks, he's had 17, 14, a bad week against New Orleans. He got 8.6 there, but against Tampa Bay, I mean, 31.5 points, 2 touchdowns, amazing. You take away those touchdowns, though, and he's scoring about 17 there. Still great. I mean, he's averaging that in that good range that you want him to be at. So Kirk Cousins really likes this guy. He's playing 90 to 95 to 100% of the snaps. So he's always on the field. You know he's always going to get targeted. I mean, this past game, 16 targets, 9 receptions. He's a dog. So if he's on there, he's only rostered in 65% of leagues. If he's on your waiver wire, you need to pick him up. I'm even in an 8-man league, and I have him starting because of how good his upside is. But other than that, I mean, another guy I could talk about that we talked about earlier is Tutu Atwell. Past 3 weeks, 13, 12, and 12. So he's getting the usage. He's in there at least 80 to 90% of the snaps, and he's getting the targets. It keeps increasing every single week. Week 3, it was 5 targets. Week 4, it was 6 targets. And week 5, it was 10. So he keeps getting the target increase. Hopefully he'll get a touchdown in there one of these games. But Tutu Atwell is definitely a guy to get, especially in those deeper leagues. Other than that, a guy that I've been talking about on and off is, again, somebody else on the Atlanta Falcons, Ray McCloud. He used to be a San Francisco 49er. Didn't like him back then. Now I do because he's an Atlanta Falcon and he's actually getting usage. He's a guy that I've also been teeter-tottering on Dynasty to pick him up. The only thing that I don't like is that he's 27 and that he might not be a starter next year or get as much usage with Atlanta if they go ahead and draft somebody else to get them to that next level of, the wide receiver game. But yeah, the past 2 weeks, he's had 11 and 12 points. He goes against Carolina. I think he could be utilized a lot in this game. But the past 2 weeks, he has 7 targets and 9 targets, and he even gets some rushing attempts in there where he can get some good points. So again, past 2 weeks, he's been, past 4 weeks, he's been 95 to 100% of the snaps there for Atlanta. So I think he's a guy to pick up, especially in those deeper leagues. Other than that, I mean, I know this team is dysfunctional, but Allen Lazard is still getting consistently double-digit points. In his 5 games, he only has 1 game where he has single digits. And I think against Buffalo, they're really going to need him. So I know this is a long time to wait until they play on, I believe, is it Monday night or Sunday Night Football? I can't remember, so don't get mad at me. But Allen Lazard is getting the usage in those deep leagues. You need those guys who are getting the targets. Past 2 games, he's had 8 and 10 targets. And I think he'll continue to do this, especially against tougher matchups when Aaron Rodgers needs him the most. Garrett Wilson did demand a lot of target share, but I think going into this game, they're going to look at spreading the ball a little bit more. They might run it, but this could also benefit Allen Lazard in getting open because they're going to respect the run game and bring more guys in the box. So also, Allen Lazard, he's been pretty consistent getting touchdowns. 3 games, he has touchdowns at least once. So I think there's a high possibility against Buffalo he gets one. But Big Money says Rico woke up, but he's about to go back to sleep. Yeah, who knows? I mean, I think Rico Dowdle is just, getting the benefit of having not a star on the roster. I know Ezekiel Elliott was there when he first came into town. And when Ezekiel Elliott went down, Rico Dowdle came in a few times here and there, and he's benefiting. But yeah, I think he will get put to sleep pretty soon. They have a bye week in week 7, and then they have a tough matchup in the next 3 weeks, in my opinion, against San Francisco, Atlanta, and Philly. So it might be a little bit tougher, but I think this week should be a good time to get him, especially for that receiving benefit. But let's see. Other than that, I really don't think I have anybody else on the wide receiver waiver wire there. There's some guys, maybe Alec Pierce and Juju are guys to get, but again, it might be too early. Juju had 20 points this past week. They have a bye, so it might be too early to get him for you. You probably need a guy now, but if you can stash him, this bye week is the perfect opportunity. They will be utilizing him going on now. He had 8 targets, 7 receptions, 130 yards. A lot of those were yak yards. So it looks like Juju is coming back to form with the Kansas City Chiefs like he was there when they won their first championship. So pick up Juju if you can, but he's mostly a stash until week 7. Alec Pierce, too, it's only him and Josh Downs are only going to be benefiting if Joe Flacco's playing. I'm sorry to say it, but Anthony Richardson is not that passing type of quarterback at this point in time. So in my opinion, I'm not down to ride with them unless I know Joe Flacco's starting. Other than that, that's probably about it for the wide receivers there. Let me go ahead and get into the tight ends here. So let me look through this list here that I have. There's not too many guys, but if you can pick up the 2 tight ends from the Saints, Juwan Johnson, as well as what is his name? It starts with an M, I believe. Yeah, I cannot find him. Let me go ahead and search up Juwan Johnson so I can get his name as well. But Juwan Johnson this past week had 5 targets, 5 receptions, 31 yards. It's not the big type of play guy that you can have, but oh yeah, Foster Moreau. Foster Moreau is also a guy who is getting 50% of the snaps, as well as Juwan Johnson. Sometimes they play in a dual tight end package, and they're doing great. So Juwan Johnson had 8.1 points. Foster Moreau had 9.3 points. I think Derek Carr and whoever is in are going to be benefiting from these 2 guys because right now, that offense is just getting locked up. If you look at Chris Olave, I don't think he's a true number 1 wide receiver. We saw that today. He was doing great before this week, but 2 catches is not enough for your number 1 guy. Rashid Shaheed is looking great, but he's only 1 guy, and they can only target him so much, especially with the pocket kind of collapsing on Derek Carr. Hopefully he's good to go this week because that'll benefit Foster Moreau and Juwan Johnson. But those are probably the only guys on the waiver wire at this point in time that I am comfortable with picking up. But other than that, maybe Kobe Parkinson. I know that he has a bye week this week, but if you can stash him against Las Vegas, I think he'll do great. This past week against Green Bay, he had 12.2 points. So I think he's a good stash for you who need him later on. And of course, Tyler Conklin, again, it's another guy that's on a dysfunctional offense, in my opinion. If Rodgers can get it going a little bit more consistently, this guy is getting targets. The past 3 weeks, 6 targets, 8 targets, 9 targets. So again, he's up and down with getting double-digit points or single-digit points here and there. But against Buffalo, I think they're going to need to rely on the pass game. They are going to run the ball more, but they need to be more effective in the pass game, and I think Tyler Conklin could benefit from that. He's doing pretty consistently, so I think he's a good guy to get. Other than that, I really don't have too many other guys. If you are in a super, super deep league and there's not too many of these guys out there, Noah Gray is also going to be benefiting from the target share there. I know he only had 2 targets, but I know in previous years he was getting some touchdowns here and there. So Noah Gray might be also a guy in the deep, deep leagues if you really, really need him. But other than that, I really don't see any more upside to anybody else. That's probably all the guys that I can talk about at this point in time. I don't think there's really too many more options after those guys to at least be consistent for you. Again, I would always highly encourage to stay away from Noah Fant. He has a lot of drops, and he doesn't get the usage that we want from him, especially with our trio of wide receivers in JSN, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf. So stay away from Noah Fant. If anybody else is telling you on any other football podcast channel, which you should not be watching, you should be watching us, do not get Noah Fant. As much as people love him, just don't. He's not a guy that you want to put all your marbles on. He's on my specific team. As you can see, I'm a Seahawks fan. But again, I just don't think he's a guy you could benefit from. So other than that, yeah, that's about it. I don't know who AJ talked about in his defenses on, on his wide receiver or his waiver wire pickups video. But in my opinion, anybody who is going against the Raiders, anybody who's going against the Browns, and possibly, hopefully they come back down to reality after this week. Anybody who's going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think you should start. So whoever that is, I think you should start them. But let me check for this week who is on the waiver wires, at least for us in our leagues. Philadelphia, if you can get them against Cleveland, do that. The Houston Texans, against New England, I think they could do some work against Drake May and get to him and sack him, make him throw some interceptions. But there's a possibility out there. There's like a 10% chance that Drake May is actually pretty good, and maybe he plays some smart football. But we'll see. That O-line looks tremendously bad. But Trey Becker says, why y'all doing it separately? Oh, we're just trying to double dip here. So I'm taking over the YouTube area and AJ's taking over the TikTok area. But AJ's also in this call here. He's just not on screen because he's handling the comments there on TikTok. So we're kind of just double dipping there, getting all the information out to as many people as we can. And of course, getting as many people to watch our channel on NSP, wherever they selectively want to watch, whether that's TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, all those streaming sites. But yeah, to continue, I think Atlanta against Carolina could be something good, but Carolina does have a little bit more of those like boom or bust type weeks where they score a lot of points, or sometimes they don't. So it's not my first option anymore since Carolina has Andy Dalton, not Sam Darnold. I keep always messing that up, but it's Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's actually playing much better for them than Bryce Young was. So it's a different team. But let's plant some trees. I love the name. But since he's talking about defense here, I'm going to get to this comment as well because I'm also talking about defenses. But he says, stream the Eagles D versus Cleveland, Texas versus New England, Chargers versus Denver, or Bears defense versus Jacksonville. So I'm going to rank these since these are all the teams that I'm kind of talking about besides the Chargers. I think Chargers are my last defense that I would stream here. I think Denver's offense is kind of clicking a little bit more. So they're my last option in this list. My next option at third here is probably going to be the Texans versus New England. I think possibly New England could get something going with the run against the Texans. Weak defense at this point in time. They are giving up a lot of points. If you look at all their games, they're within one score. So the defense isn't really making a huge difference there. So they're my third option. My second option here is most likely going to be the Bears defense versus Jacksonville. Jacksonville just had a great game, but I think they come back to reality since they're playing the Bears. The Bears defense is really good, but I still think that Jacksonville could put up some points. The Bears defense is not, an impenetrable wall. So I think that you could definitely get some quality points there, especially if they can get to Trevor Lawrence and sack him, make him maybe throw one or two interceptions against that strong coverage back there in the cornerbacks and safeties room. But my best one is going to be the Eagles versus Cleveland because Cleveland freaking sucks. They can't put up a lot of points on the board. They make a lot of mistakes. They let go of the ball. If Nick Chubb comes back, maybe this is a little bit different, and I put the Bears above the Eagles. But I think this week the Eagles are going to be the better defense because Cleveland is just downright horrible. So that's going to be my rankings there. Thank you, Lex Plank Trees, for coming back. I believe I've seen you here before because that name sounds familiar. But thank you for coming back. If this is your first time and you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. But I do believe you are subscribed. So thank you. Hit the like button. And thank you for your comment. Other than that, I don't really see too many other defenses. The Packers defense is always pretty good to have. They're putting up consistent points. They are a defense that I would consider just keeping on my roster because they are getting turnovers. Every single week, McKinney has an interception. They always have fumbles getting going in their favor. So right now, I think they are the number 2 defense in the league. So they are on your waiver wires and nobody has them. I think they're a defense that you could have all year long and be, pretty consistent with not having to get somebody else because the Packers are doing bad. So Packers defense is a good defense to have if they are there. But excuse me. Other than that, I don't really see too many other defenses that I think are serviceable right now at this point in time. Everybody else looks pretty weak. So depending on who you have on your waivers there, I think those are some of the best defenses in my opinion. But that's just my opinion there. Again, go ahead and watch AJ's waiver wire pickup video. It is in the Discord down below in the description. If you haven't joined there, go ahead and click the link. Join with us. We talk football all the time, whether it's fantasy, just football, or if it's about betting. We also talk about betting from time to time. So it's mostly me. But yeah, other than that, guys, I really don't have anything else. If you want me to talk about kickers, I can. But other than that, I really don't see any other guys that have upside, in my opinion, at this point in time. Lex says the Packers are available too. I would pick them up, honestly. I think, as again, I said that they are a good defense to have. I'll go over their roster a little bit since they are playing Arizona. Not their roster, their schedule. They're playing Arizona, and then they're playing Houston. Then they're playing Jacksonville. I think those are all three favorable matchups. Houston is maybe the time when you don't want to start them because Houston could have a good game. But again, if you want the best quality team for sure, I would pick up the Eagles versus the Cleveland Browns. I think anybody who goes against Cleveland from week to week is going to be getting some good quality points. So I know that Philly hasn't been doing the best, but they've been playing some pretty unfavorable matchups in Green Bay, Atlanta, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay, who are all pretty good at scoring points. So in my opinion, I think going against Cleveland will give them that bump start that they need. So I'm going Philly as my best, most consistent defense, just because they're going against Cleveland. But Big and Mini says, how about Denver? Because they've been on fire versus the Chargers, and the Chargers as well, since the Broncos are mediocre. The Chargers defense is good on paper, but I don't think people really are leaving them out there. So on a lot of my waiver wire pickups, the Chargers are not available because their defense is good. It's not the best defense. They are pretty mediocre in fantasy, ranked 13 right now. But Denver, if they are there miraculously, I don't think they should be. They're rostered in 75% of leagues. They've been so consistent these past 3 weeks, 16, 12, and 16. I think if they are there, I think they rank as my third defense to pick up, to be honest, because I think the LA Chargers could possibly get something going after the bye week, but they also could just crap the bed. So if Denver's on there miraculously for you, pick them up. They're also another team because they have such a favorable schedule this year on the next 3 weeks. They have Chargers, New Orleans, Carolina. I think those are all favorable matchups that they could be getting a lot of points in because they get to the quarterback. And we know that those quarterbacks for those respective teams have been having some O-line issues and, of course, scoring issues. So, but yeah, those are what I think about those defenses. If you have any more questions, shoot them in. I am looking to go ahead and end this here, at least on YouTube. If anything, I might go join AJ on TikTok. So if you have any more questions, the next minute or so, I'll go ahead and be waiting here. But yeah, again, if you want me to go over anything about quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, defenses, shoot, even kickers, as I said, I'll go over some kickers if you want me to. But yeah, I feel like I've gone over quite a bit here, so I'll give you about 30 more seconds. If not, I'll go ahead and end this stream here on YouTube, and then I'll go and see if I need to join AJ on TikTok. But again, guys, just the last call here. If you are not in our Discord, go ahead and hit the link down below in the description to join. We do talk football all the freaking time, whether it's fantasy, just football and how you think your team is doing, like power rankings wise or anything like that. Or if you want to talk about betting, we can go ahead and talk about that. But other than that, really don't have anything more to say here about fantasy for waiver wire pickups. I hope that you are doing good in your fantasy. I hope that this week is going to be an easy matchup for you. And I hope that your team wins as well. Of course, only 16 or since this week there are 4 teams on bye, only 14 teams can win this week. So sorry to say it, but I hope your team is one of them. I hope my team is one of them, as we are going against the 49ers. So we'll see. It's going to be a great game. We'll be there live. Again, keep up with us. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that notification bell to make sure that you are notified when we are going live or we are releasing a video. The next thing that you should probably see is maybe a TikTok video or a YouTube short coming up tomorrow. And of course, on Thursday at 12 o'clock, you will see my power rankings video come out. So go ahead and hit the comments there. Tell me what you think about my power rankings. They are updated compared to last week. So if you want to roast me about last week, go ahead and do that too. The videos are there. They cannot be deleted. I mean, they can, but I won't do it. I stick by what I say all the time, and that's about it. But Big Money Joe says, yeah, talk about some kickers. I mean, I can, bro. Honestly, I really don't follow kickers too much this year because they're just so wishy-washy, in my opinion. But if you want a great kicker, in my opinion, who should be out there for you, only rostered in 17% of leagues, Chase McLaughlin for the Buccaneers has been doing phenomenal. He has that outlier week against Denver, but let me just roll with you on the comments here. I mean, 15 points game 1, 10 points game 2, that 1 point outlier against Denver in week 3, 10 points and 16 points in the past 2 weeks. But yeah, let me go ahead and get to this comment real quick, Big Money. Austin says, should I start Zay Flowers, Josh Downs, or Alan Lazard? In my opinion, I would start Zay Flowers. I think that the Baltimore Ravens are going to need to pass the ball a little bit, especially against the high-powered offense of the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels. Josh Downs, I think he's only going to be a starter if Joe Flacco's playing. I mean, I sound like a broken record here saying this in this video, but Joe Flacco is better than Anthony Richardson passing the ball. So if Anthony Richardson is healthy off of that hip injury, I think that all the wide receiver stocks goes down. Alan Lazard is pretty consistent, though. I know he's going to be more consistent than Zay Flowers, but I might be falling for it again. I just might be. But Zay Flowers had a good week this week. I know last week was a horrible week for him, but I think going forward, he should be consistently getting better from week to week. So that's what I think. Austin, if this is your first time joining the channel here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the notification bell. We go live every single Tuesday for waiver wire pickups and any trade talks that you want about fantasy football. So we're always going to be here. We also have a Discord down in the description below. If you want to join there, we talk football every single day of the week. But let me get to Austin's here. This okay, what about between Lazard and Downs? I'm going Lazard. Again, unless Joe Flacco's playing, Lazard is the guy. If Joe Flacco's playing, I think I might be going Downs because we saw what he could do with Joe Flacco. But Big Money says that crappy group got me -1 point. Yeah, bro, go get you McLaughlin. If he's available, which again, available in 83% of leagues, he should be available for you. Go get him. He's so consistent. He's probably one of my #1 guys to get. The other guy is Boswell. So Boswell has been having some bad weeks, in my opinion. He used to be the #2 kicker, but now since he's got 9, 7, 8, and 6 in the past few games, he's down to the #5 kicker. But he's very consistent as well. Other than that, I'm pretty sure a lot of guys were picked up, especially like Aubrey. So there's a couple guys out there. But Austin says, okay, I'll subscribe right now and like. Thank you, man. We appreciate that. Of course, again, join the Discord. We're there 24/7. We try to get to your comment as quickly as possible. I mean, whenever I'm at my computer, I'm always checking to make sure if there's any messages that I can answer for you guys. We try to help you guys as quickly as possible because we know how dire a situation is when you need some advice for fantasy, because sometimes we get in our own heads and sometimes we make the wrong decisions. So we'll try to help you make the right one. But Big Money says, Broncos, let's ride. Wow, that sounds bad. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's a shocker for me. Just a spoiler here, they moved up in my power rankings again, and I was just like, Oh man, at the beginning of the season, I did not think the Broncos would be this high. But Bo Nix and Sean Payton are doing well. So defense is really holding it down for them for sure, but they are getting better on the offensive side as well. But Big Money says Vince holding it down for NSP. Yeah, man, I try my best to do it. I know AJ holds it down. I know Reed holds it down. So I'm just doing my part here, trying to provide as much to this channel as I possibly can with the time that I have. Of course, without neglecting everything in my own life. But yeah, man, I'm here for y'all. I know you guys are here for me as well. So I appreciate all the comments, all the likes, everything y'all do. The camaraderie here is amazing. It's top level. This is why I love this channel, and this is why I wouldn't give up doing this YouTube channel and Facebook and TikTok, because it's just fun. I enjoy it. It's something I look forward to 3 to 4 times a week. But yeah, super fun. But some other kickers. Let me look through this list here. See if I have anything sticking out. Oh, would you look at that? Group is on the waiver wire. Don't pick them up, guys. Big Money says not to. Over here in this comment right here. You can read it for yourself. But other than that, I would also go with, hopefully I'm not messing up his name, but Austin Siebert. He plays for the Washington Commanders. He has a phenomenal stretch of games here. First game he played is week 2. 22 points against the New York Giants. That was when all they had to win that game was just whatever Siebert kicked. Then they went against Cincinnati, got 9 points, went against Arizona in week 4, 11 points, and Cleveland with 10 points. I have this guy picked up in my dynasty, I believe. He's only 27 years old. We know how long kickers can last in this league. So he's a guy that I'm going to keep. Even if he's on the bye, I'm okay with that because I'm 4-1 in that league. I don't think his points are going to be crucial for me not winning. But again, Austin Siebert for the kicker in the Commanders is another guy who is, let me see, he's only owned in 22% of leagues. So out there, he has 78% of leagues that he's not owned in. And I think he's better than a lot of kickers that are owned. But Austin comes back here. He says, I have Aaron Jones and JT as well. I was wondering who I should try to pick up to replace them. Chase Brown and Bigsby are available. Well, of course, you don't want to drop them. That's the first thing. I'm 100% sure you know that, though, but I'm just saying that out there just as a precaution. I think here I'm going to go with Tank Bigsby. I know Chase Brown has been doing good, but I think Tank Bigsby has more upside, especially going into this next game. But yeah, Chase Brown is not a bad guy to pick up. Past 2 games, 23 points, 16 points. He's been getting bulk of carries. Again, I wouldn't say this is not a good pickup, but I think I'm going to lean toward Tank Bigsby because he's getting more snap share than Chase Brown. And I think there's a world where Chase Brown kind of falls off a little bit. But Tank Bigsby, he got 40% of the snap share this week, and he freaking dominated. 13 attempts rushing, 101 yards, 7.7 yards per carry. That is insane. So again, I think that Tank Bigsby has more upside here, but Chase Brown is not a bad guy to have. He is getting more carries, if you could say it. He has 15 and 12 in these past 2 games. But yeah, only if Zach Moss doesn't play. If Zach Moss doesn't play, then I think that he will be getting more carries. But if he does play, I think he's trending towards playing this week. Let me search that up for you just to make sure 100%, as it still is early during the week. But it says Zach Moss' ankle is believed to be okay. This was a day ago. So I think he will play. This is why I think that you shouldn't have Chase Brown. But in my opinion, it's not a bad idea to pick up one or the other. But I think Tank Bigsby has the better outcome. But Big Money Joe says, bro, I was leading by 1 point, then group misses a kick, and I'm losing by 1. I was like, WTF. He says, thank goodness that Olave got me 3 points. Yeah, you needed those 3 points because those are the only points he got. It's freaking crazy. But good job, man. Always good to get a close win like that. But Austin says, definitely, LO, I got you. Let's see. He says, Brown catches. I like him, but Tank is living up to his name right now. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I just think that going forward, the Jaguars would be ridiculously ludicrous if they don't think that Tank should be the guy getting more carries, more target share, everything. I mean, I don't care how much ETN's getting paid. It's not even that much. Tank is getting played way less, but he's producing. Put him out there. You want your best guys there, unless you're, tanking for the season. At 1-4, they just got a W against the Colts. I don't think they're intentionally trying to tank. So if you're not trying to tank, you better put Tank in, because Tank Bigsby is the guy to go to, in my opinion. He's way better than ETN, way more productive. ETN can be the third down back, in my opinion, because he's a better pass catcher at this point in time. I think Tank Bigsby can produce that in the coming years. I have him on my dynasty, and I'm betting on him being a top running back next year. But all right, guys, that is about it for me here. I don't have pretty much any other kickers. Maybe one more kicker here in Cam Little for the Jaguars. But again, it's not going to be reliable because the Jaguars aren't always going to be in field goal range. So it's not my best kicker to put out there. I know I drafted Cam Dicker the kicker from the Texas Longhorns. He plays for the Chargers, but he just hasn't been doing up to the expectation that I have for him. So we'll see how they do. But again, I think that those are the only kickers that you should be ending up getting, and they should be on your waiver wire. And that's McLaughlin, that's Siebert, and possibly either the two guys that I just said, Boswell and where's his name? Cam Little. Sorry, Cam Little from the Jaguars. Other than that, really don't see any upside to any more kickers unless you see a top end kicker out there. But just look at the rankings. That's what I go by, making sure that they're consistently getting high points. If they're getting consistently double-digit points, that's your kicker to go with. I try to keep one kicker until they have a bye week. So I try to get those guys that are consistently getting double-digit points at this point in time. And for me, that's McLaughlin. For me, that's Siebert. If I don't have anybody else that's already doing that. So other than that, guys, I think I'm going to end it here. Thank you, guys. There's been so many new people come in. I hope that we got a lot of subscribers, and I hope that you guys keep coming back to get some advice from us. We love having y'all in here. Again, if you're still on, go ahead and go down in the description below. Join our Discord. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit that notification bell so you can always be notified when we are going live or we have some videos going out. Big Money says, thanks, Vince. Of course, I appreciate you guys just as much as you appreciate me, hopefully. But again, I'm going to be kind of signing off here on YouTube. I might go join AJ on TikTok just to give him a little bit of reprieve off of there, since I know the comments go crazy in there with thousands of people on there watching us. So thank you guys, as always, here on YouTube. I'm signing off, and I appreciate y'all for coming in and giving us comments to go off of. Hopefully your fantasy goes well, and hopefully your team wins this week. Other than that, we'll be in Seattle on Thursday for the San Francisco versus Seattle game. So it's going to be great. We'll have a vlog coming out in a few weeks with that. Should be a shorter video, but should be a fun one. Other than that, guys, as we always say here on this channel, of course, go win your fantasy league and keep on grinding.